Hello and welcome to the Future of Dogs podcast, a place for the whole dog world to come together and ask the big why and what if questions that will shape the dogs of the future. Join me, Hannah Molloy, dog behaviourist and body language expert, as we chat to some of the world's most groundbreaking professionals intent on enriching and evolving the future for dogs. This series is sponsored by Amplified Behaviour, my online video school where you can find quality dog behaviour and training advice at a fraction of the price, because I believe everyone should be able to afford the knowledge that they need to give their dogs the best life possible. Let's jump in to the next episode. Welcome to the Future of Dogs. This is a whistle-stop tour of where we've been, where we are, and where we could go in the dog world if we could craft a collective dream and work together to champion and change the way that we care about man's best friend, the domesticated dog. I'm a qualified animal behaviourist, dog behaviour and body language expert that has never lost that childlike awe and wonder in the joy of asking why and what if. Why do we do that thing that we all do? When did we start to do it? Why did we start to do it? And is it still useful to do? Do we need to keep doing it? And if we don't do it that way, what could we do instead? And I'm a big believer in chatting about, challenging and creating space for questioning behaviour, because I'm a scientist. And there can be so much innocent joy in asking whys that lead us to decide to study or fund or change something. My heart is always going to be directed towards shifting our culture away from blame and shame and towards solutions-based conversations. So together, we're going to meet some of the world's most wonderful game changers, industry pioneers that are happy to stand out from the crowd, speak up, and champion the first steps of change in their unique fields. John Lennon was a dreamer, but baby, he's not the only one. So if you're here right now and tuned into a podcast about the future, you are almost definitely one too, and it is so good to meet you. Now, the dog world is vast and complex. It is full of powerful and passionate, game-changing experts that all work really hard to change the future of dogs. From dog owners the world over to brilliant breeders, dog rescue heroes, veterinary staff, trainers, groomers, pet shop owners, nutrition experts, dog walkers, dog sport champions, ringcraft kings and queens, researchers and scientists and charities, the police and local authorities, right the way up to government, and in the UK, even royalty. The fact is, we're all totally dog mad. But with so many voices and businesses that are working independently in their own fields to improve animal welfare and education, it's pretty mind-boggling to navigate for the untrained ear. So we're going to go on a voyage of discovery to seek out new thoughts and new inspirations to challenge our cultural norms and to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. The truth is, when you're studying behaviour, whether it's the behaviour of animals or humans, behaviour can become so beautifully black and white. In the field of behaviour, we're able to put the labels of right and wrong just to one side and ask, what's the function of this behaviour for the individual? And over time, I and many other dog scientists have become more and more fascinated with the dog's environment, the human's behaviour, our behaviour. We are, after all, the masters and commanders of the fate of all dogs, aren't we? Every single one of us. And I believe that we have a right and a responsibility to pitch in on this ever-expanding conversation. What should the future of dogs look like? We have totally controlled the dog's evolution, the ones we buy and breed, feed and post on social media. These are the dogs that we promote to the next generation. We say, this is a dog. This is what a dog should look like, act like, eat like, sleep like, dress like. This is how a dog should behave or be cared for. But what are we aiming for? What's the conservation strategy for dogs? Dogs have been tweaked and shaped to fit our culture for tens of thousands of years because they're a competitive species to us. They want to eat the same things that we do. They take up large territories and they live in community with one another. The modern scientific community believes that dogs domesticated themselves because they did the maths and they thought, hey, these guys would be great allies. Look at all that spare food and those nice warm caves. Look at all of the animals they have in fences that are super easy to catch and eat. We're on to a winner here, guys. Let's buddy up. But have we really been the dog's best friend all these years? I'm going to spend the beginning of every episode reading some pretty outstanding guest bios to you and introducing you to the creme de la creme of the dog world. So it'd be fairly remiss of me to not fully introduce myself as your host. So hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Hannah Molloy and I'm a qualified dog behaviour specialist in the UK. And I've got a degree in animal behaviour and a specialism in dog body language and pet dog behaviour with families. I was a behaviour advisor for one of the UK's biggest rescue charities, and I've trained over 10,000 dogs in 10 years to work as pets or as school dogs. Yes, you heard me right. I think being a pet dog is really hard work. And I've written an illustrated guide to dog behaviour called What's My Dog Thinking? It's a Penguin book, and it's been translated into many languages and sent around the world. And then I featured as one of the 3 experts on the primetime Channel 4 television series Puppy School. I've written education products for colleges and schools. I've trained vets and groomers and pet shops to provide courses on cooperative care that reduce bite incidents and increase the handling and observation skills of these awesome but pretty underappreciated fields of pet care. And I'm a passionate campaigner with the all-party Parliamentary Dog Advisory Welfare Group. More on that in a hot minute. And you can train along with me as a pet owner or a pet professional at www.amplifiedbehaviour.com. I've got a ton of great courses and webinars there, and you can even do a level 2 qualification in dog body language with me too, or get in touch via the website if you'd like to book me to work with you and your dog. And I fundamentally believe that dogs are species. We have totally controlled their evolution, the shape, the size, the form, such that in this generation, we are their natural habitat, aren't we? The Future of Dogs podcast seeks to improve the very unnatural habitat that we've created for dogs in the 21st century. It is a whistle-stop tour of where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. A future that we get to shape by making these informed decisions right now. With the help of some of the world's most forward-thinking professionals, we're going to chew over some of the toughest questions together. Why do we breed and buy certain types of dogs? What do we need in the pet dog of the future? Why have dog bites on humans in the UK tripled in the last 20 years? And what can we do to prevent dog aggression towards people and other dogs? Is there an alternative to breed-specific legislation? What could the future of grooming, training, and veterinary care and campaigning and rescue look like if we chewed over our cultural norms together with a cup of tea and a biscuit? Well, that's what we're here to find out. So let's kick off. This is episode 1 of series 2, and this whole series is a responsible dog ownership special. If you want to follow the story and add your valuable voice to these conversations, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Just search for the Future of Dogs podcast. So where are we in time? It's a good question for anyone listening to a podcast about the future. It's currently the summer of 2025. And for the diehard fans of our show, you will notice there's been a mighty large gap between the end of series 1 and the beginning of series 2. Why, you ask? Well, to help me answer that question and fill in all the gaps and give you the lowdown on what has been happening in the world of dog politics, it is my great pleasure to introduce you once again to my dear friend and campaigner, Dr Marc Abraham OBE. Whoop. There he is, Marc Abraham OBE, otherwise known as Mark the Vet. He's a practicing vet at Muse Vets in Rottingdean, which is near Brighton. He's the co-founder of the all-party Parliamentary Dog Advisory Welfare Group and the author of Lucy's Law, both a book and a piece of groundbreaking UK legislation that bans the third-party sale of puppies in the UK, making it illegal to buy a puppy without its mother present. Super cool. He's also the author of Be More Mosquito, a fantastic book on the art of grassroots campaigning. And he's the star of recently released Dogspiracy Documentary, which I can't wait for him to tell us all more about. He also pops into schools on a weekly, regular basis to teach kids kindness to animals and safety around dogs. Marc, it is such a joy to have you here. Hello.
All right.
So patient with my ridiculously long intro. Series 1 intro.
Have we got time? Have we got any time to chat?
I think so. I've booked you for as long as I could because you're a very busy man. I know.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me on again.
Oh, thank you for coming back. Oh, well, I get the privilege of getting to hang out with you quite a lot, Marc. But I know that
hang out a lot, and I do feel that's a privilege as well.
Oh, that's really kind. Well, Marc, I hope you can help me here. What we've got here is a huge time gap, like a vacuum of time. For those that have been listening through series 1 and they've just jumped into series 2, like the last episode was November 22. So we were just going into the first dog bite problem event in Westminster. And right now it's the summer of 2025. So can you help me to fill in this time gap? Like, what has happened in the world of campaigning and legislation in that period of time?
I mean, first of all, thank you for all your energy and passion with all aspects of campaigning and bringing what's going on kind of behind the scenes, not intentionally behind the scenes. I mean, everyone's invited, but sort of translating it almost to the masses. I think one of the things that we share, well, we share a lot of things, but one of the mantras we share is to be as inclusive as possible and to be as transparent and to be as kind as possible in terms of relaying information and making everyone part of the solution, which I think you do brilliantly.
Thank you. I learned from the best.
And I think from the end of 2022 till now, we've obviously had your fantastic series of the dog bite problem, ? 3 huge meetings in Westminster, which were very successful in one respect, but unfortunately were met with deaf ears with the chief decision makers.
Yeah,
progress was made in so many ways.
Yeah, well, to be fair, there wasn't a lot of time, was there? Like the last episode of the dog bite problem event series was June, and then it was just unfortunate September because the XL bully thing.
So the real people who needed to attend, take note, and then base their solutions and decisions on, kind of ignored everyone. They didn't just ignore what we were saying; they ignored what the actual Dog Control Coalition was saying. They ignored their own evidence.
Yeah.
And in a nutshell, that's the frustration of campaigning. Often it's the chief decision makers that just do what they want at the end of the day and ignore all the evidence, which is meant to be underpinning all policy, really, especially when it's their own evidence that they've commissioned. So we had those amazing talks, which was a great groundwork for everything that followed. Then we had a change in administration, which meant some pieces of legislation that were in the process of making progress were dropped. Some have since resurfaced. Some have actually made it across the line. And with a change in administration, you get animal welfare usually pushed down to the bottom of the pile again. We turn on the news every day, a few times a day. People like myself have it on constantly. I'm fascinated by it and equally as depressed by it. But there's so many issues going on that people would argue deserve more parliamentary time, more debating time to discuss and to make progress. Human issues, I guess. But as you know, you keep pushing and I keep supporting you. Most of the dog welfare problems are human issues.
Huge, yeah.
So we have to be patient. We have to bide our time. But most importantly, with grassroots campaigning, I think we have to keep these conversations going because if you don't keep the conversations going or are seen to, people think either it's been fixed or it's just not important anymore. And especially with something like Lucy's Law, we campaigned for a long, long time to ban third-party commercial puppy and kitten sales. And it was really Michael Gove being the Secretary of State and the planets aligning in that respect, plus a few other moving parts that allowed that to happen. Because before that, it wasn't shifting at all. And, you know, the last throw of the dice was to form the all-party parliamentary dog advisory welfare group, APDOG, to construct a specific meeting that exposed the opponents. So it was about the planets aligning. And my point is, a bit of a rant, but my point is, you've just got to keep beating the drum until the right ear listens.
That's really good.
As in the correct ear, not the right ear or the left ear.
Just turn your head.
The right and left ear of the right person listening. And I think that's campaigning in a nutshell. You've just got to keep doing it until it's the right time to make that change, and it's the right environment, and you've got the right lever or mechanism or vehicle of legislation, if that's required, to do it. And that's the frustrating thing. And we always hear, why do things take so long, especially in Parliament and legislation? It takes so long because things need to be scrutinised. So at the end of the day, you have a piece of legislation that works and is robust and is enforceable, which the XL bully ban kind of hasn't done. And that's an example of a knee-jerk legislation that just hasn't worked because it ignored all the evidence. So it's a great case study. It's quite a depressing one.
And that's a really good point. Bites. Let me just jump on that point that you made, Mark, because it's excellent. That I think a lot of people forget with lobbying, that it is about the right place and the right time. But actually, we can all get quite tunnel visioned on our area, can't we? Like as you say, you're listening to the news a lot. You have a perspective on the wider, landscape of what parliamentarians are having to, process. And I think if you haven't been to Westminster and sort of walked in the shoes of an MP, honestly, like their lives are bonkers.
It's absolutely nuts.
They deal with so many different issues every day. And it's not an easy thing for them to go, well, which of these things are important to me, to my constituents, to the whole country, and keeping that balance. That's really not easy. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I think we can all become quite tunnel vision, can't we? On our one, like, why is it so hard? If this one thing would fix the world, but actually, there's war and there's this and there's this and there's.
It's a ridiculous amount of hats that each MP is wearing.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're part of a party, you often get told what to do. But on the flip side, it's up to us as grassroots campaigners to be imaginative, be creative with our campaigns, to get noticed, and to be so relevant to the parliamentarians that whatever their motive, to either look good, look like they care, to hold a dog, we don't care. But for them to back a campaign and for it to then become cross-party, appealing to ministers, hopefully or preferably improving human welfare as well. That's a big deal to engage MPs. So it's not just about animals. It's about improving human lives, human mental health, human disability, humans in domestic violence situations, etc. That all helps get noticed, and it all helps be taken a little bit more seriously. And it all helps sometimes the MP to look good. And sometimes, as I say, we don't care why they do it. If you want to look good and you want to look sympathetic and empathetic and caring and compassionate to your constituents, brilliant. We can provide the tools for that.
Yeah.
But just meet us for 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever you can manage. And that's the craft, I think, of grassroots campaigning. Remember, we're not paid to do this. There's plenty of organisations that have public affairs officers that are paid to go into Westminster, paid to do drop-ins, paid to do all the stuff that we do for free because we care. And that's another hurdle for MPs and parliamentarians and ministers, or whatever you want to call them, to take grassroots campaigners seriously rather than public affairs officers of the major stakeholding charities and industry. So there's another hurdle that we have that they don't. And we're fitting in our spare time and our busy working lives, and we're doing it in windows that we're just desperate to go to Westminster, especially when we don't even live near London.
Yeah, that's true.
And the cost of train travel. There's so many things that, as grassroots campaigners, obstructions that we face that the public affairs officers of the major stakeholders and industries don't.
It's hard work.
And it's getting noticed, I think, is the biggest difference. But once you're in there and you're a good communicator and you can explain stuff in a very short amount of time to MPs or ministers, you can start making progress. And, as obviously in my mosquito book, we list the mechanisms and the levers of the petitions and the select committees and the debates and all the things that are out there that we all have access to that are pretty much free of charge that can make progress. It's just a case of doing it properly and managing your resources responsibly so you don't get burnt out or sort of fed up with it all and give up.
It's a really super book, and it's full of these checklists as well, which I love. If you're listening to this online, you can also check us out on YouTube if you want to put a face to a name. And yeah, you can grab Marc's book, Be More Mosquito. It's just absolutely stunning, really helpful, like practical blow by blow guide to how to really make change happen if you're just a very small, in theory, small individual.
And I mean, two things on that. One of the title of the book was. There's a Dalai Lama quote, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. So be more mosquito. The other thing is I was campaigning for 10 years to effectively change one line in an existing piece of legislation, which was to ban third-party sale. It took 10 years. And during that period, I knew, because it was, when you're campaigning like that, you're failing all the time, and you're finding a new thing to do, new avenue, new mechanism. Petition, do this, do that. And I kind of knew that if I don't come from a background in politics, I'm a vet, so it was always biology, chemistry, and physics, and politics, law, campaigning was just something that happened to sort of posh people in suits in Westminster. But it's relevant to all of us, and it's accessible to all of us, Westminster, or wherever you live, Parliament, and they do work for us. It's just providing the solutions for them to work with. That's super important. But my point being, with the 10-year campaign, you don't have the resources as a grassroots campaigner. You're not paid, so you don't want to burn out. So I kind of wanted to make a guidebook to assist people in the process of campaigning, so they didn't mismanage their resources and they didn't waste their time. Because which MP do you meet? When do you meet them?
Yep.
When do you hold a rally outside Parliament? All these things are explained, but it's really easy to get wrong if you haven't done it before.
Yep.
So I've done all the getting wrong bits for everyone, and I was so keen to go, right, I know it doesn't work. This is the stuff that you can focus on that does work, so you don't waste your resources.
It's so good, Marc. It's so good. And, makes change so much more accessible for people who have passion. And I think, the biggest takeaway that I've had from you is actually building a really solid team is so important. And, if it is 100%. Your passion project, if it's something that's on your heart to do, go easy, because you can't get too emotionally connected. Obviously you are emotionally connected because you want to see that change happen, but it's being able to separate yourself from it in some ways, and also get other people on board to be around you to see that change, because it is incremental and it is frustrating. I am ever the optimist and always going, well, we'll do that in like 5 years. And Marc's like, it's going to take a bit longer than that, but sure, 5 years would be great.
It's mad how long it takes, but as I said before, if it's going to be done properly, it needs a decent amount of time devoted to it. So if you are a grassroots campaigner and you want to change something, and not even in the animal welfare or dog world, any protection of vulnerable population, you have to be prepared to take your time. It's like a massive game of chess. As you say, you have to be a team player. You have to be willing to collaborate, and anything is possible, really. You've just got to provide a solution that's workable and enforceable, and then kind of corral everyone towards that, essentially. And I write in the book, I call it the ambush. You surround the chief decision maker with the public wanting it, the select committee wanting it, celebrities wanting it, cross-party MPs wanting it. And you give them nowhere to go, really. But that whole constructing that ambush is the stuff that takes the years, and the strategy and the patience and the collaboration. But it's doable. Yeah. And it I say fun in the looser sense of the word. It's incredibly stressful and very depressing and very lonely. But it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's all worth it.
Yeah,
100%.
Ever sweeter the victory if you know that you've been like working at it for so long, and technically don't have the resources to do it compared to lots of other big organizations. You said earlier, Marc, like, just to go back a little bit in time again and then jump forward. So we did the 3-part event series, the Dog Bite Problem Campaign, and we looked at what the data said. And then the second part we looked at, is it the dogs? We said, are we just living in a generation of dogs that is generally more aggressive? And the general conclusion from everybody there, and we had some amazing experts, Dr. Helen Howell, who's going to appear in a later episode, and loads of amazing. We had Daniel Shaw brought his neuroscience perspective. We had a whole ton of guests, and you can check a lot of those out still or on Facebook if you go to the Dog Bite Problem. They're all still there. You can look at all of those presentations that were brought into Westminster. And then we did the third part, and that was the solutions event. And, what do we do with this? The unanimous decision was no, it wasn't the dogs. It was definitely people. Like, it's definitely our problem. And we haven't got enough data. And then part 3, we looked at the solutions. And we came up with really solid, great solutions that might improve this narrative. But what else at that time, Mark, was going through in terms of legislation and either didn't go through or has been changed and is now gone through instead?
Yeah, so most people will be aware of the Kept Animals Bill, which was a nice piece of legislation which contained sort of 5 main things. Dog-wise, it was puppy smuggling was a big deal in that bill, and also pet theft reform. Mm-hmm. So actually making pet theft a specific offence. So they were the 2 dog-related ones. There's also primates as pets and banning livestock exports of sheep and cattle. Some other stuff was in there. So that was it was just so sluggish through Parliament, and it wasn't making any progress. There was always rumours why and how and what's going on. And the Queen sadly passed, and that sort of put an end to all campaigns and legislative journeys. Yeah. And then, of course, when things started up again, there was a snap election.
Yep.
So stuff that had made progress through... So primary legislation, which the Kept Animals Bill was, these 5 pieces of legislation within this one bill, made progress.
Just to clarify, primary legislation is you're writing the law it's original law. It's like the first time it's a bill. All right, okay.
It's a bill. So that was dropped.
Yeah.
Then it resurfaced. It was split up into what's called private members' bills. So MPs took one of those 5 pieces and they had their own bills to take through Parliament. Mm-hmm. Okay. The Pet Theft Reform Bill, which was championed and campaigned for brilliantly by Debbie Matthews and Dr. Dan Allen, who are heroes of mine, and they deserve so much credit and respect. That had made so much progress through the Commons and the Lords that actually, when the snap election was called, it was involved in the wash-up. And the wash-up means anything that's nearing royal assent just gets passed in the day. So Pet Theft Reform got passed in that day. Amazing. Unfortunately, the puppy smuggling bill, which was at the time being championed by a Devon MP, Conservative MP called Selene Saxby, that hadn't made enough progress. Mm-hmm. So it was dropped, lost. Since then, in the new administration, it's been repurposed, if you like, to a guy called Danny Chambers, who some of you may know is Winchester Lib Dem MP and a vet.
Awesome.
So he's now taking this bill, which is basically banning of puppies, the import of puppies under 6 months of age, which is amazing because it means they can be properly vaccinated against rabies. It can be properly enforced because obviously the teeth change at 6 months. So visually, you can tell if a puppy is 6 months or less. And obviously, they're much more robust to travel after 6 months. What that is underpinned by, which is even more important, is they're not cute anymore.
Yep.
So no one wants a 6-month-old puppy. Mm-hmm. So this is a really important piece of legislation. We submitted evidence during since 2019, we've been pushing this. Dogs Trust as well. It's been one of their main campaigns. There's no opposition. It's sailing through, already sailed through the Commons. It's sailing through the Lords. And that should be law probably by Christmas or early next year. That's huge. So that's the ban of the import of puppies under 6 months, which is basically trying to end puppy smuggling. Now, you'll always get people, as I have with Lucy's Law, saying they'll still do it. They'll still sell puppies without the mum. They'll still, okay. Let me just remind people who are the naysayers. People still speed.
Yep.
People still steal.
Yep.
people still murder.
Yeah.
Just because a law changes doesn't make everyone behave themselves. If it did, there'd be no police, speed cameras, lawyers needed. Changing a law provides a framework to investigate and then potentially prosecute. Okay, so before you jump in and say, well, people will still import puppies under 6 months. Yes, of course they will. People will always try and break the law. However, now there's a framework to actually do something about it. Let's just quash that one.
And that's no reason to ever do anything. If someone was like, well, they'll do it anyway. So,
actually, I was going to say you'd be amazed at the trolls I get, but you probably wouldn't because you're on social media and you see all that stuff all the time. It can be a bit disheartening, though, and a bit pathetic because on the flip side, it's like, well, what are you doing then about anything? Apart from sitting there going like this and finding fault. Anyway, so that's just by the by. But so pet theft reform. So pet theft is now a specific offence.
Amazing.
Puppy smuggling bill will cross the line unopposed and be law. So those are the two dog related pieces of legislation that I'm delighted to sort of report back that have made progress.
It's amazing.
And they've made progress because people have signed and shared petitions, people have contacted their MP, people have cared enough and they've told their parliamentarians that this needs to change, and the parliamentarians have been overwhelmed, they've been ambushed into doing the right thing. And talk about working together. I mean, these are great examples. E-petitions, debates, just, some of these charities make it so easy. You can just type in your email address and where you live, and it goes straight to your MP. So technology is helping in that respect, and it all helps. And really, if you see a petition, don't ignore it. They all 10,000 signatures, a government petition anyway. 10,000 signatures gets you an official response. It's usually just a sort of a pacifying comment, which is infuriating, really. And then the 100,000 gets the debate, and the 100,000 debate means A, it's being talked about, but B, you get if you know your MPs well and you've got really good relationships you've made with them, they'll share you briefings sent in by any organisation or stakeholder, usually industry, that opposes that potential change suggested change in legislation.
Interesting.
And then the campaigning really starts, because then you can unpick it with the MPs and the ministers. But it's the best start to any campaign is the 100,000 debate.
It's amazing.
Without a doubt.
I read in your book as well, actually, that's specifically in England. We're talking about changing the law in England. There's a difference
the UK Parliament is the 100,000, but then the devolved nations, so nations where they have their own legislation in some aspects, often in animal welfare.
Scotland, and that's
Wales, Northern Ireland.
Yeah, okay.
So
they get to do things differently.
Yeah, and the other thing to report is Lucy's Law at the moment is in England, Scotland and Wales, so it's illegal to sell puppies without their mums, or without seeing them interacting with their mums in all those territories. But Northern Ireland, because Stormont was inactive for a few years over the lockdown period, which is the Northern Ireland administration. Now they're active. So there's currently, as we're talking now in August, a consultation out on Lucy's Law for Northern Ireland. And I'm working both with Northern Ireland teams and with DEFRA. There's a few things that need ironing out that weren't ideal when Lucy's Law came in. But I think we've got them under control. The issues with Northern Ireland, just briefly, obviously it's the gateway to the UK mainland from the Republic, where there's lots of puppy farms, and that's under EU legislation.
Complex.
But also there's some puppy farms in Northern Ireland which were featured on a BBC 3 documentary called The Dog Factory, which most people have probably seen and are still a bit scarred and traumatized by, and quite rightly so, who are, via a loophole, which is a intentional misrepresentation of the actual legislation, allowing puppies to be bred in Northern Ireland and sold without their mum in 2 pet shops in the northwest of England.
Wow.
Which is obviously a nightmare for local authority inspectors, because they're trying to enforce Lucy's Law, but they can't because of this loophole that DEFRA have put in. So we're going to try and close all that up, tighten it up, obviously with the puppy smuggling bill coming in, Lucy's Law in Northern Ireland. There's so many, again, that's what I said before about the mechanisms and levers available. Hopefully by the end of this year, we can tighten everything up. That's what she said. And we can, move on with a much more robust system for puppy buying, puppy breeding. And with every change in legislation or even suggestion of, or even e-petition or select committee comes education, because it's talked about. And when it's talked about, we talk about it as public or campaigners, charities, but also the press can pick that up. And if you're talking about it in social media and you tag in various media outlets, maybe they can pick it up and turn it into a story, which, as emphasizes and accelerates stuff.
Yeah.
If it's picked up by the media, wow, look at it go. So there's loads that we can do, and we can help direct the traffic. But it really does help. And I say this specifically because of my experiences. It really does help if the major animal welfare stakeholders are all aligned, all saying the same thing, all their logos are on the same briefing, and they're saying to the government, this needs to happen, and why.
It's an exciting time. Like, you feel the hope actually now. Obviously, we had the XL bully ban, which took about a year really for everybody to just process, and then we had a new government, and that was a huge period of time. And now we're in the new government, and there's so much hope on the horizon. As you say, there are welfare bills that are getting passed. Some old legislation is getting put through. What else, Mark? Like, what this year can we really look forward to? What would you? I mean, obviously, you get to hear all of the dog world campaigns. You get thrown absolutely every single one as the secretariat of the Parliamentary Group for Dog Welfare, and you smash out, by the way, an amazing newsletter. So if you're not on the App Dog newsletter, get on it.
My 6 to 8 hours a month pulling stuff in. Yeah, I mean,
it shows. It's really detailed.
It's a blessing and a curse, but I think it's good. I mean, from a branding point of view, it's a touch point, obviously, with dog lovers. Yeah. It's free. Yeah. Kind of enjoy doing it. It makes me actively seek out what's going on. And, sometimes when we're trying to change laws in this country, we can look for examples in other countries that we can then go to MPs and ministers and say, well, they've done it. Absolutely. And we're meant to be the nation of animal lovers or dog lovers. Yeah. So if you haven't subscribed, a little bit of a plug. It's a free newsletter.
100%.
But it's appdog.co.uk, and you just put your email address in on the homepage. And every month, just imagine you sitting there resizing pictures and changing fonts and all the rest of it. But it's so worth it. And I also list the relevant petitions to sign and share. Yep. Get involved and join in and just be part of it all, really. Absolutely. As we said right at the top of the show, it's so inclusive, dog welfare. Everyone has a voice. Yep. Everyone can play a part. Everyone's got a particular skill set, and everyone's got a certain amount of time that they can devote. Even if you're sitting on the loo and you retweet a petition link, you're part of the solution, and you're a campaigner, essentially. So it's not just campaigners who go into Westminster. You can sit on your sofa, and share something or talk about something or ring someone up and tell them about something. That's all campaigning. Yeah. You don't need to be in Parliament to make a difference.
What I've loved about AppDog as well, Mark, that you have just laid as a foundation, which is beautiful, is because you do invite everybody into that conversation. I know it's something that we did on the Facebook page when we put up all of the presentations that happened, because followers of AppDog were getting live stream during COVID. And I think then they were like, oh, I've actually got to go to Parliament. And so we were like, well, how do we find a happy medium? We'd love you to see some of these presentations. And so many of our presenters filmed their presentations or just gave us copies of their PowerPoints. But I love that you create an environment where people are able to learn to disagree well, because we need more of those spaces. It's easy to be a keyboard warrior and like throw a heavy opinion down, but to be able to be in the same room with other human beings who have a really, a very different opinion to yours, and to debate well, like that is the spirit of government. Like that's what we, that's why they speak to each other, with honor in theory. They used to.
Yeah. And I was always keen to provide that environment because of my campaigning journey, and to have access to some of the rooms that we present in. The rescue one every February is Committee Room 14, which is where Churchill used to brief the MPs during the Second World War. You've got Committee Room 11, which is our normal one, and still 100 odd people in there. It's so beautiful. You've got the River Thames. It's in the Palace. Everyone is respectful. I have to say, the words that come out of people's mouths in those rooms are worth so much more than anywhere else. If that's everyone listens, everyone respectfully just shuts up, and we make progress, and we air issues. And to be honest with you, the evolution of outdoor, because we started 8 years ago, has become picking topics that are so important in the dog world and human world that we can then invite MPs along, and some do come. They're so busy, so it's a huge compliment for them to come. And we can then suggest those topics for select committee, for example, to then drill down on, have inquiries. And that's kind of the first ladder, the first rung on the ladder of new legislation, or what's important or what's relevant at the moment. So I think it definitely performs a really important function of highlighting issues, getting experts in, getting people to talk about it respectfully, as you say. Often we'll have a drop-in beforehand, so MPs holding up those placards. We'll always, thanks to Agria, have a networking event at a nearby bar afterwards with plant-based food, keep the kindness vibe going. And we make progress, and it's become a community. And honestly, the number of people that come who I'm pretty sure didn't think Parliament was for them, or didn't think that they could ever go there, or were ever invited there, or even were relevant to step foot in there. And I think that's one of my main missions, is to say, look, Parliament is actually for everyone. We can all come in, we can all enjoy it, and we can all get something out of it. And hopefully it'll inspire some of you to think of campaigns, or start or support campaigns of your own. And I think it is doing that. And the vibe in there, I think, is unique. I think it's exceptional, because everyone is fueled by compassion, by kindness, by empathy, by doing the right thing for dogs. And now we have the rescue sector one, which is hugely popular, obviously. We have the link between animal abuse and domestic violence. In November, we're going to have accessibility. What's an assistance dog? We have the unsung heroes every December to shine a light on people doing good stuff that haven't got a budget or haven't got a platform to tell the world, like some of the big charities. And January, I think we're going to do excessive breeding for extreme with Dan, and then it's rescue again, and it's like this rolling organism, which we're not going to drop topics just because we want something new. We're going to keep them going every year in their slots until significant progress is made.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is the point about keeping conversations going. It's not about, let's do that event, drop in, get a celebrity in. I mean, we've had Diane Morgan, Michelle Collins, Will Young. We've had some amazing people giving their support for free, again, for free. But if we keep on doing them year on year, we keep gaining momentum, we're more likely to see some sort of change and progress. If we stop, it stops, because it either doesn't matter anymore or it's been fixed. So by rolling these on, and I'm more than happy to do this, obviously, because I'd love it, and I've found some sort of weird niche in my life where I didn't even know this stuff existed 10 years ago. We can bring people with us and create these movements and see change happen.
It's huge. And it's always the conversations that happen in the bar as well, that afterwards it's those little moments of like networking and collaboration.
Right. Decompress.
Oh, you did that and I did that. Yeah, it's huge.
100%.
So what are the key players on the field this year, Mark? What can people be looking out for? What big changes on the horizon? I know I've got some that I can think of, but what for you are the like, oh, this is exciting, this has just happened, or this really needs your backing?
I'd like to see more progress made with the animal abuse and domestic violence scenario and Ruby's Law, which some of you will know about. If you don't, then definitely come along in October. It's National Domestic Violence Month, but October the 21st, we've got Christina Warner doing the Ruby's Law presentation, plus a few domestic violence and their pets testimonials and survivors. The police to take it more seriously, to arrive on a crime scene and look at the evidence of animal abuse as well as human abuse, and for judges to take it seriously when they're sentencing a history of animal abuse, which some do, but not all. So with Mark Randall, obviously, the god that is Mark Randall, who works with Nature Watch, who's an ex-copper, who's driving that particular campaign with Nature Watch. And obviously Christina from Ruby's Law, and just to make, as I said, the accessibility of the disabled. The 11th of November is the assistance dogs. What's an assistance dog? We traditionally guide dogs, then maybe hearing dogs, and then just dogs for the disabled. All the let's say posh jackets, and then on the flip side, you go online and you can go. Emotional support dog or service dog jacket and stick it on your dog and you arrive at a venue. Why can't I come in? So there has to be some way of legislatively controlling the vocabulary used for these situations. Otherwise, I mean, every dog is an emotional support dog, surely. In some respect, it's really, really difficult, and it causes a lot of problems. And you've got, I heard a horrific situation, which is Steve Darling, who's the MP. I think he's the MP in Dorset, who's blind and has a guide dog. His wife is also blind with a guide dog, and he told me a story where he ordered a taxi. He heard the taxi arrive. They obviously came out of their house with two guide dogs, and he just heard the taxi drive off again. But that's illegal.
Wow.
Because, so how do we get round this? How do we control this environment of discrimination, potentially, and accessibility and inclusivity? So the more we understand the human-animal bond, and the more we understand how dogs integrate with our lives, with our modern lives now, and kind of need to be everywhere with us. I just find it fascinating. And you'll always get the brands who put dogs first that will just go streaks ahead in terms of popularity, positivity. And I like shining a light on the people doing good stuff rather than looking at people doing bad stuff. It's a much less stressful environment to work in.
Absolutely.
Showcase the good, kind of ignore the bad. Maybe it's the same as training a dog. It's like positive reinforcement.
It's focusing on the behavior you want, isn't it? That's exactly it.
It's focusing and showcasing and making a really big deal and congratulating and you've done that. And then everyone goes, why are they getting all that attention? Hang on.
Like, for example, this
year, the
oldest
trick in the book,
they're going to have the innate health assessment is about to be launched, which is an exciting thing. I'm going to let Dan and Rowena in another episode explain that in more depth. But that is one of the things that we really want to do, is celebrate brands that don't use animals with extreme conformation in their advertising. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to launch a website and go, look at all these amazing people who have done the work, understand the problem, and are not going to use extreme conformation in their advertising.
What you mean? You mean like a bulldog riding a skateboard?
Yeah, like
which
that would be
ironically is being used on the ASA advert for appropriate and responsible advertising.
Call it out, Mark. Call it out. Call it out.
100%.
Contentious and hard. It's true. It really needs to be.
I don't mind calling people out anymore.
It's important.
I've got a medal, so I don't care anymore.
He's got a medal. He's got an OBE. He doesn't care anymore.
Don't care.
That's it. All the gloves are off. Let's go. That's important. Exactly. And that's been frustrating, I know, for many who've wanted to change. The amount of dogs with extreme conformation in the public sphere. I
mean, I was on the tube yesterday, right? I was on the tube in London, and it was one of the hottest days. It's the fourth heat wave. And there was this Frenchie in the next part of the carriage, and it's just, and its mucous membranes, gums were just engorged. It was so on the verge of, I think, just heat stroke or keeling over or both.
Gosh.
And I had a bottle of water with me, and I said to the owner, and everyone was looking awkward in the carriage. And I said to the owner, please just take my water, pour the water over your dog, pour it in the dog. Just do something, or remove the dog at the next stop and go outside, because there's an oven in the carriage. He went, no, it's fine. And I was like, with respect, not that I have to be, but I am a vet, and you do need, your dog does need to cool down somehow. So here's my bottle. Don't even argue about taking it. Here's my bottle. Do something with it, because your dog is probably going to die if you don't cool it down at some point.
Wow.
And confrontation on the London Underground isn't often encouraged, but he did take it well, and he did smile, and he did thank me. And I walked off thinking, right, I've done something, and I would have been gutted if I hadn't. But it just shows it affects all of our lives, and it's present. The extreme stuff is really present. The other stuff I'm obviously passionate about as well, which we haven't mentioned yet, is the greyhounds.
Yes.
Exploitation and abuse.
I clapped like I'm excited about it, but we've had some change there, haven't we, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, Wales, thanks to people like Vanessa at Hope, again, coalition with Dogs Trust, with Blue Cross, with RSPCA, all calling it out, all getting behind a phased ban. And it's only phased because they want to control the number of dogs coming into rescue. If you banned it immediately, it'd be overwhelmed. It wouldn't work. So that's huge progress. You've got progress in Scotland. With Mark Ruskell, who's an MSP, Green MSP, who's kind of leading the charge brilliantly. His team and One Kind are absolutely fantastic, making progress. Private members bill. Unfortunately, we're nowhere near that in England
yet,
because we have one of the major stakeholder charities refusing to back a ban on greyhound racing. I'll let you guys do the research, but again, if Wales can do it, and New Zealand have just done it, and Scotland are in the process of doing it, it's almost like, well, they're all doing it.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
And that's a really powerful lobbying force when you're grassroots campaigning. And it really puts parliamentarians in a difficult position, because, again, we're meant to be this nation of animal lovers, and we're letting them down.
Yeah.
The numbers of injuries and deaths are going up, and the industry's going, oh no, but it's getting better. It's like, well, it's not.
No.
And you can't justify it. And if it was pugs being raced or cockapoos in the conditions that they're kept in, no chance.
No, it's true.
Because they're, let's say, not as interesting to look at. I mean, I love greyhounds, and one day when all this campaigning stuff dies down, hopefully one day I have some spare time, I want to adopt, rescue at least one, maybe two greyhounds. But because they're not fashionable and seen on the arms of celebrities or in adverts, they're kind of not seen as that exciting. So they can be abused, and they can be exploited, and they can just be mistreated.
If you've ever met a greyhound that hasn't been a racing greyhound, they're nuts. Like, they have so much energy, so much personality. They're wonderful dogs. Like, I mean, all dogs.
They're amazing dogs.
But you just don't know. People think greyhounds are really chill and serene because they have been battery farmed and not given any stimulation, and they are shut down just like battery farmed hens, many of them, when they come out of the racing world. So yeah, it's just total, they need an entire rebrand as far as I'm concerned, racing greyhounds. It's just, it's not fair on them at all. That is so exciting. I really want to touch upon your biggest campaign move right now. But before we do that, Mark, I just wanted to quickly mention that off the back of that off the back of the dog bite problem event, we did come up with some solutions, didn't we? And we are, over the process of the next couple of years, going to roll out more and more detail about this. But what we really wanted to say is that we came up with 5 key areas that we thought really needed to change based on the evidence that we are sort of failing on when it comes to responsible dog ownership, because this is a responsible dog ownership special. And the first one is breeding and rescuing dogs. So the way that we access the dogs in this generation, that where we're getting dogs from, the dogs that we're getting, there's no regulation around that area, and it's a really big problem. Okay, so we're not sourcing dogs well. This is when people say, why are people getting bitten by dogs? Why are people being irresponsible? Number one, we're not sourcing good dogs. A lot of the dogs that we're getting are puppy farmed, have had a really bad first start, have been bred from unhelpful parents, have been shipped halfway across the world, or they've come from dodgy rescues. So that really needs fixing. The second thing that we found that we want to bring in as a solution is that we don't really understand dogs. And that's a big one. Not being able to understand what dogs need, how they communicate. So really educating the public and children about dogs is a big key area for responsible dog ownership that we're going to be championing over the next probably 10 years easily. And the third area that we really found was a problem was that the industries aren't regulated. And Mark and I started working together in 2018 when you did that original meeting, should dog trainers be regulated? And the truth is that we still need that to happen. Dog training, grooming, dog walking, all of these industries are completely unregulated. And that's something that we really want to change. The fourth area is that we don't keep clear records about anything. We're not collecting data on any of these areas, So when we want to send incredible researchers out to solve problems, they are dealing with clanky data that doesn't bring solid conclusions. And then that fifth area was that we're not enforcing. And these were the 5, if you were going to shoot the problem, and when everybody goes, well, the problem is that we aren't breeding dogs properly. Yeah, it's true. Or the problem is that we, people don't understand dogs and they keep getting bitten because they're not reading body language. That is true. Or, we haven't got the right data, or nobody's enforcing. All of these things are true. And so that is what we're going to, off the back of that campaign, we're building this 5-point vision that we're going to continue to go after and make sure that these 5 areas get improved over the next sort of 10 years. So just to, really support those that are listening that have been going, well, what happened? And now what? And what's next? That is what Mark and I are hoping to achieve in that sort of area. And,
back to that point 1, about provenance, really, and about, people doing the right thing, responsible dog ownership, and even that term ownership is now being questioned by certain individuals and organizations. It's like, let's just make progress before we start relabeling everything.
Yeah.
For example, Lucy's Law, making it law to always see puppy with his or her mother. It's a small step in the right direction in this huge problem. So now, legally we can only buy puppies seeing him or her interacting with their mother, or rescue. Those are the 2 options, which I was always passionate about. Obviously, people are going to try and break that. We've still got puppies being imported that are young. We've still got this loophole from Northern Ireland. So it's important to celebrate the small steps, but it's important to then, with the other hand, keep making progress and keep banging the drum and keep these conversations going, because as you've just described, these are huge, mammoth pieces of awareness, changing behaviour, maybe even legislation. But it is up to us as humans to all do something about it. 100%. And luckily we've got AppDog, and we've got people like yourself and Dan and Rowena, who are so leading the charge with making change happen. But they're not going to be able to do it unless we all get behind them.
Yep.
And we all do our bit. And we all can do our bit, and we all should do our bit. And most of us are. We just need to know how to do it properly.
And you've been really into the breeding part, like the breeding piece. Getting good dogs to start with is actually, I mean, I've split them into 5 areas, but I'd say that first one is heavily weighted. It's probably bigger in lots of ways than all of the rest. Being able to breed and raise good puppies is huge. And you've continued on with that, Mark, haven't you? So tell us about Dogspiracy. I am really excited
Nice
for
segue.
everybody to see this. Well, it's a huge thing, isn't it? Breeding is the area that you've been, Lucy's Law and now Dogspiracy. Like, actually stopping puppy farming is never going to stop being something that you're passionate about. Hey, so tell us about Dogspiracy.
Yeah, and thank you. And I think that it is down to us to make these responsible decisions as potential owners or caregivers or whatever we want to call them, humans. So I was approached just before lockdown by a production company actually based in Prague, and they wanted to make a show about dogs, quite a generic show about dogs. And they invited me to be a contributor, like just a normal talking head, giving my opinion. And I read the treatment, and the treatment is different to what the treatment would be in a room like this. The treatment for a TV show is like the synopsis of the show. So I read the treatment. I was like, this is nice and very comfortable, but it's not really going to change the world. And with my campaigning head on, I kind of rewrote it in a very nice and respectful way. I put myself in as presenter because otherwise I would have had to explain to the presenter what to ask the contributors, honestly. And I said, look, this is, you can either make a show about dogs or you can make a show that changes the world for dogs, potentially. And they were like, ooh, hello. So they came over to Brighton from Prague. I took them for a cup of tea on the pier. It was a lovely sunny day, which I think definitely helped. And I said, look, these are the arcs I'm suggesting. So behind the scenes of campaigning, dog breeding and selling, plus a huge promotion of adopting rescue dogs. And then we go to America. So we've seen that we can make change happen in the UK, but there's so many places in America, the majority of states, in fact, that puppies in pet stores is still normal.
Yeah, wow.
And they're being bred in the Midwest. They're also being bred by certain populations. What do you mean? What do you mean? I said, well, let's look at the treatment that I've rewritten. There's an amazing woman who, if you don't know of her or you haven't met her, you'll know her from the documentary once you've watched it. And she's called Grace, and she runs Finding Shelter, which is a rescue shelter, foster-based in Pennsylvania. And her mission in life, all she does is she drives around the Amish puppy mills all day, every day, rescuing ex-breeding dogs or puppies that are going to be destroyed, probably. And they breed puppies for third-party sellers or pet stores. And she's incredible. She's one of the most inspirational and phenomenal people I've ever met. I won't give you too many spoilers, but my point is we made this sort of documentary synopsis, and they kind of gave me free rein. So we had access to MPs, we had access to some amazing rescues. So again, Vanessa at Hope, Eileen, Friends of Animals Wales, Rosie Duffield MP, Caroline Lucas MP, Roger Gale MP, so cross-party. We also went to the States, and we interviewed senators. We took one of the senators, a Republican senator called Tracy Pennycook, undercover to the Amish puppy mills as we rescued the dogs and took them to the vet for checkup. And it's kind of, as I say, it's behind the scenes of grassroots campaigning, sharing the frustration. Just because everyone's on board and everyone's saying the same thing doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen.
Yep.
We expose the individuals and organizations that are blocking, essentially, progress being made, mainly in America. And yeah, it's 97 minutes, so it's a proper movie. It's more of a movie documentary than a documentary movie. It's filmed in a very cinematography minded way, edited, and the music, and I'm incredibly proud of it. And I think what I want people to take away from it is, first of all, adopt if possible, but also, again, we can all do something. This is how frustrating it is to be a campaigner. But as Rosie Duffield says, who's the outdoor chair, by the way, it's up to the public to come to parliamentarians, to MPs with problems, more importantly with solutions, so they can do something about it.
Come on.
And it's a really nice sort of whirlwind tour, even though it's 97 minutes, of stuff that's going on here, stuff in the States. Peter Egan's in it, Ricky Gervais pops up at some point, so does Rachel Riley. And it's a lovely way of saying we can all do something to help our four-legged friends. We shouldn't leave it up to other people, whether it's grassroots campaigners, celebrities, major stakeholder charities, politicians. We can all do something. And again, like we said earlier, it's not even just about animal welfare. It's a really good example of just how to campaign and change. So if you have a vulnerable population that you care maybe more about than others, elderly, disabled, send kids, the tools in the movie can help with that campaigning too. It's just a really nice example of how they can be used. So yeah, I'm proud of it. I want everyone to see it, obviously.
You should be. It's really good. And it's never been more important right now, Mark, in the age of technology, where it is almost impossible for us to not constantly be distracted by this horrendous phone that everybody is addicted to,
Yeah.
Like now we really need to remember to share the things that we care about and really press in to important issues that we want to see change in. And I just want to say it's a great movie. I was privileged to get to see it when it first was aired. And
well, you came all the way down to Brighton for the private screening, and I'm so glad you did. I mean, this is August now, and we're about to have International Dog Day in a couple of weeks, so it's going to be screened across the country in a lot of cinemas.
Very exciting.
And then it will be out on a streamer. So
and for those of you who are like, thing is, I don't want to see a film that is going to make me really, really sad. I hear you. I just want to reassure you that Mark has done a really great job of bringing the issue to the fore without people like losing it with the footage. Okay, so it's been really delicately handled, because we appreciate that most of you like, who wants to see puppies in puppy farms, but we need to be able to look at the issue. But he hasn't made a horror show, so just that's what needs to be aware.
No, it's important. I mean, it's sad because, and we know it's sad, and you can't make a show about this stuff without showing some sad stuff. Sure. But it's not horrific, and there's love. It finishes on a positive, and there's lots of opportunities and windows of hope throughout. So, and some of my stupid jokes as well. So yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, and there is a bit of sad stuff in it, but it's not a surprise, and it's not too bad that you can't sit through it.
No, it's really, really watchable. So don't worry. If you care about animals, you should definitely watch that documentary. It's important.
Thank you.
Really cool. Really exciting. Okay, so check in with AppDawg at apdawg.co.uk. How can people find you, Mark, if they wanted to find out more about you and what you do and just hang out, just stalk you gently?
Well, I'm not on Instagram because some Dutch vet stole Mark the vet. And he's only posted 4 times, and he wants to set up his own clinic, so he won't give me the login details and give me the account, which is annoying.
You can make a new one, be a different Mark the vet.
Really?
Mark the vet, the Mark the vet. I know.
Awful.
Listen.
So Facebook, the Facebook, MARC the vet, easy. Cool. Twitter, which is now called X, I believe. Mark the vet, MARCTHEVET, and I'm also on LinkedIn. I think it's actually my name, Marc Abraham, on LinkedIn. I can't remember. Anyway, I guess Twitter and Facebook are the main ones, but they're Mark the vet, and that's why Instagram I'm reluctant to stray.
You could just skip Instagram and go straight for TikTok. Miss out the entire millennial generation.
Far too old for TikTok. So yeah, follow my stuff, and I update it quite regularly. And as you said at the beginning, I do lots of school visits as well. So if you're Sussex based and you have kids in primary school, I do secondary as well for sort of career stuff. But I quite like my school visits called Furry Friends and Feelings. So it's about caring for animals, looking out for one another. We bring human mental health in as well, which I think is really important. Right. And also safety around dogs. And sometimes if we have a bit of extra time, and depending on the time of the year, we can talk about fireworks and dogs, or excessive features and conformation, exaggerated features, or dangers for summer. I always throw it out to them, especially in the summer. I say, like, how would you stop the public walking their dogs on hot pavements and roads?
Yeah,
because I struggle every year to crack this one.
I know,
and
it's huge,
and it's huge. And the only decent explanation I've ever got, not just from the primary school kids, although they often give the best answers, is just to encourage people to obviously don't walk them, or walk them on grass in the shade in the morning and the evening, but wear shoes. A lot more dogs are wearing
get some dog shoes. Yeah. But it's still too hot, though. It shouldn't have to come to
exactly. Some specifically, midday or 1 in the afternoon, when you see dogs being walked, how do people not know? It drives me nuts, and I have to talk to people. Be like the guy on the tube. I have to say, with respect, did you know? Maybe they're a lockdown first puppy owner that just hasn't had the experience of owning a dog, and they want that information because they genuinely didn't know about it. Some people are like, thank you for telling me, I hadn't even thought about it. I mean, you're a moron, but I'm glad we're not having any confrontation right now, but it's a tough one. And I'd love to see a national campaign,
absolutely,
where all the big major stakeholders work together and collaborate and go, right, it's summer, do not walk your dog in the sun.
Royal Veterinary College have some amazing infographics on this area and have brought out some really fascinating research on it. I think the stat that I heard the other day was that dogs with extreme conformation, so that might mean like a flattened face, particularly a flattened face. Some of these breeds are 16 times more likely to die of heat stroke than dogs with normal conformation, so a normal length nose, a tail, etc. That's crazy. And
then you have certain breeds. I mean, greyhounds, there was some research done, I think, by Lincoln University a few years ago, found that greyhounds are susceptible. I mean, they're the longest nose.
Yeah, true.
And they're susceptible. And then you have the greyhounds tracks racing them during the heat waves.
Gosh, no. Okay.
And it's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Oh, they're just greyhounds. So we can all do better.
We can.
And we are doing better.
Yeah.
And it's, people like yourself, and as I say, RBC and Dr. Dan Allen and all these players who need the population of dog owners and lovers to keep signing and sharing petitions and keep supporting campaigns and just keep these conversations going. Because if we let them stop, nothing happens.
So true. So true. Marc, thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of all our listeners, I am just so excited to have had you here for episode 1 to kick off this responsible dog ownership series 2. And thank you for everything that you have done, are doing, and will continue to do.
And thank you, Hannah, for all the stuff that you've just said about me, but also thanks to all the listeners for sticking with us till the end of this one. But also just think about what you can do. And I don't mean start a campaign or go to number 10 or something like grand and mental. Just think, when you see a petition, sign and share it. Maybe write to your MP. Maybe organise a small event that raises awareness, because it all helps, and we can all do it. We all have the tools to do it, and sometimes it's even fun to do this stuff too.
So true. And together, collaboration is key.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Marc. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. I'm sure we'll see you again very soon. And that's been us for episode 1 of season 2 of The Future of Dogs. We hope to catch you again next time. And that's all for another episode of The Future of Dogs. Big thanks to our sponsor, Amplified Behaviour. Your host and producer is Hannah Molloy. Technical direction, audio and video producer is Mark Goslett. And the graphic designer is James Whipps.